Hello, and thank you for joining us today. What we're going to present is a vision of the future of this facility and organization covering the next 2 to 3 years. Let us begin with a happy first anniversary to us. As with a startup, this first year has been incredibly busy with lots of things having to be done on a learn as you go basis. Still, we opened with a bang to rave reviews and we continue to get very positive reviews. These are the things that the visitor would see that we had to be ready with. Here are the things that had to be done in the background and turned out to require tweaking over time. Constant review and refinement, along with getting feedback from our audience, was necessary to make sure we were developing a viable product. And, of course, we had to get the word out about who we are, and what we offer. We learned a lot this first year and have every confidence that we will put that knowledge to good use going forward. We now have the knowledge and the track record to help us navigate the coming year. That future begins with what we want the general populace to think when they hear our name. This really comes in two parts. The first is if they think of us as a place or facility, and the second is if they think of us as an organization beyond a physical location. You will realize that these two categories will shape how we do everything going forward. Knowing what we want them to say about us leads us to ask what impression we want them to have when they're engaging us, either at our facility or through our programming and outreach. In addition to refocusing the basis of operational revenues, we must also be more aggressive in applying for and winning available and applicable grant funding. The work on this has already started and will necessarily require the skills of proven grant writers in the area. In addition, there must be programs in place to encourage local investment in the museum on an ongoing basis. In the near term, we continue to work on reducing wage expense, especially on known slow days. Recently, though, a sharp increase in field trips and birthday parties, which is good news, has required additional staff on specific days. Still, where possible, staff hours are being reduced well below that from November and December of last year. Recruitment of reliable volunteers still poses an issue, although we are now making a little headway with agencies we had not reached out to in the past. The time of year does pose a problem with recruitment activity, but we are working with that. Having identified the reaction we want, how do we get there? Some of this, obviously, is to provide more hands-on experience so that we cater to a wider age group and to make sure we suitably develop anchor attractions along with strong, in-demand programs. So, what will this look like? Let's start here, where we are today. Everything you see here is in place and functioning. The important stuff is on the top right and top left. We attract and occupy kids up through about 12, although realistically this is about 10 years old. Field trips tend to also favor the lower grades up through about 5th or 6th grade. The significant things are the last two. We easily occupy kids for about 3 hours, and in general, we don't see a lot of direct involvement by adults in the exhibits or programming. Also, aside from clean bathrooms, we really only offer cold packaged stuff in addition to a small gift shop. At the outside of phase two construction, if timed correctly, we can start bringing in some of the more achievable and less expensive exhibits that will help with a wider appeal, both to older kids as well as parents. One of these is already functioning, Robots in Action, and it has stunning appeal to a wide age range. I'll cover the details of each new exhibit later. Note, however, that our audience appeal should edge upward along with field trip appeal. Attention span increases with a larger number of exhibits, as does adult appeal. The advent of the kitchen allows us to now prepare and serve hot drinks, plus a few other easily prepared food items. The completion of the construction and expansion of the outdoor area will finally allow the introduction of some major anchor exhibits. Most of these will rely on increased attendance to help offset costs. The constant improvement and change will also help add buzz and bring in more guests and sell more memberships. Significantly, this will allow us to handle a good breadth of kids ages up through high school. Attention span will also go up. Importantly, this will finally be able to engage adults directly. We should by then be able to provide more complete meal options and make the kitchen more profitable. A big part of the future is adding, enhancing, and changing exhibits. While we'll cover some of the details later, the overview plan is to aggressively solicit sponsorships ahead of time to cover at least the larger anchor exhibits, with some of the smaller ones added through operations. There are also opportunities to obtain some useful exhibits through smart partnerships with local agencies. All this cost. Some things we don't know for sure, largely due to the complexity of the concepts. However, we do have a pretty good feel for the ballpark costs, and while the bottom line might seem daunting, remember that each of these, at least the larger ones, are very strong targets for sponsorship if promoted correctly. Maybe we should now take a look at the highlights of some of these exhibits. Let's start with something that will likely not cost anything much to get going. We already have all the significant pieces of this exhibit. It is now a matter of putting it together in a usable format and writing programming around it. This would be the basis of a whole series of kid-generated content that will put us on the leading edge of interactive exhibits, since it not only teaches but also provides content that goes into other exhibits. This fairly straightforward exhibit will immediately make us unique in the area. By all accounts, it is fairly easy to set up, requiring a ceiling or roof access point for the bees that will outlet to a low traffic area outside. After that, it is maintenance by an experienced beekeeper. Luckily for us, one has already volunteered to do this. Another simple exhibit. It will occupy currently unused wall space and will be a standing craft. Similar exhibits have proven to be consistently popular at other museums. We are continually asked to have outdoor play structures to help kids work off energy. Kids love to climb, and these specific structures, although perhaps not as tall, are popular in parks and other public locations in major cities. A majority of the cost is the installation and safety proofing, including a kid-safe flooring. After that, it is minimal maintenance. The sample shown here is one of 4 such environments. These are fairly easy to construct and will help populate the outdoor environment. It will give kids exposure to climates from different areas than the ones that they're exposed to in the Central Valley, while also adding a visual and sensory attraction. In place of the traditional rectangular garden plot or a pizza garden is this visually stunning, fully contained space-age garden. It provides its own controlled light and heat source, water, and growth area. It is a small footprint learning garden. We believe this will become one of the major anchor exhibits here. It will be kid safe, yet offer the opportunity to take kids on a road trip to 5 different locations that will include video, road sounds, speech, and other sensory input. The beauty of the concept is that the 4 or 5 locations can be changed reasonably easy and frequently. Content can be derived through partner museums. Another outdoor anchor exhibit that will have very wide appeal up to and including adults. This will require a permanent installation but with very low subsequent maintenance. It is also fully ADA compliant. This particular exhibit will replace the current player piano. As simple as it appears, it will answer many and varied needs, including a wide audience range, motion and dance, plus innovative music instruction. This one is one of 2 enhancements to the passive oak tree exhibit. There are several ways this can be implemented, and the least expensive version is shown here. It covers the area that is currently unsafe because of the support structure of the slide that prevents kids running through the area. It provides a safe crawling experience for a wide age group and presents the opportunity to include cave ecology inside as an add-on. Long in its design cycle, the version of this exhibit shown presumes final development and construction as a project of the engineering department at Fresno State or some other institution or organization that enjoys working on similar projects. It has a very high educational value in that it shows a more complete scientific picture of the water cycle from above surface evaporation to below surface aquifers. This will supplement the existing wonderful water exhibit. To be attached mostly at ceiling height, this will be one of the major wow factor exhibits. Interaction could be as simple as elevating and launching the ball to setting up remotely activated switches and gates throughout the course. It should cover the entire inside exhibit space. My long-term dream of creating a hard science exhibit environment catering to older kids and adults. This will be the most complex exhibit to be created within the confines of the indoor exhibit space. However, the rewards should be tremendous. It will form the primary anchor exhibit with a high wow factor. It will be set just below ceiling height and supported by the 3/4 high walls rather than suspended from the ceiling. All our hard science stuff will be in here, and it will be only the second age-limited exhibit area. The first such age-limited exhibit area is the Ready, Set, Grow toddler area. Luckily, we've been in touch with the original developer and designer of the Mission to Mars exhibit from the year 2000, as shown here. He is very excited about the space station concept and believes it to be entirely possible and destined to be a major attraction all by itself. A major component of the space station will be the planetarium. We have no intention of directly competing with the Peña Planetarium, but we do need the ability to have some similar journeys through space as part of the space station concept. The beauty is that we can also include journeys through ocean depths or through the African savanna. This is just a sample of the star field that can be projected inside the dome. It can be programmed to even show a trip from Earth to Alpha Centauri, and as I said before, to show underwater scenery and a trip through the African savanna, to name just a few. One of the other additions inside the space station will be this augmented reality sandbox that is a direct, hands-on way to learn topography and geography or geology. This can be tied to any number of other programming ideas.
Okay,
here is just a
go.
quick video of
Really?
how this thing works. Notice the hands moving the sand, and
Yeah, it must have been
immediately
an
the
open
gaps are
source
being filled
thing
in
that
by
someone did. It's
appropriate
pretty neat.
topography. The real power comes from fairly simple
God said is
programming.
that this is what's cost $100.
A simple setup. These 3 tough sheds will be located at the far edge of the expanded outdoor space. Each will focus on some aspect of directed hands-on industrial art, bicycle repair and engine work, carpentry, and gardening or horticulture. Again, this caters to the older age group. This one is for everyone who is fascinated by dinosaurs, and that's a pretty big group. It is currently designed as a combination of hard science, photo opportunity, play area, and a family hangout space. Another exhibit that will be high on the wow factor scale and very interactive. Outside of the initial purchase of the drones, this should be fairly easy to set up. Maintenance might prove to be challenging, but not unsolvable. The second of two additions to the oak tree exhibit is initially the most expensive enhancement. However, it will have the potential of turning a passive exhibit into an interactive learning experience for young and old with technology that we would be able to resell to other institutions. This is a very simplified view of the Phase 2 construction expense. It shows that construction and full exhibits will total about $2.2 million, of which the new market tax credits will cover about $1.2 million, leaving almost $1 million to be covered by alternative funding, in this case, naming rights sponsorships. And here are the available, currently unsold naming rights opportunities. What's shown in gray are the ones that are immediately available. In other words, the ones that are in the current museum. And the ones in green are pending exhibits dependent on Phase 2 development. For a better understanding of how the exhibit costs are distributed over the two-phase new implementation, we offer this chart. You'll note a majority of the big ticket items are well after the construction completion portion of Phase 2. In addition to all those, a couple of words about key programs. These will be built up over time to be a regular portion of the museum if they already aren't. Note that none of these are necessarily huge moneymakers, but are in fact designed to make Imagine You the automatic destination for families and the first name that pops into their head when they wonder, what should we be doing? As proven by the success of the recent Imagine You Village Halloween, there is a huge value in a successful free community event. This one helped us promote the museum to over 1,000 visitors in 2 hours, about 75% of whom had either never heard of us or never been here before. A good number of them returned through the week for the Riata Ranch event. A better planned event could easily have not only reached a wider audience, but also turned a good profit. We're always looking for ways to attract groups that may need a reason for an introduction to what we offer here at the museum. That's why we have a presence at fairs and large shows. And that's why we offer targeted discounts. We continue to seek out new ways of attracting and keeping members and guests. These are just ideas, but every one of these has been suggested by or loved by our current visitors and members. All that remains is turning each into a positive program. And finally, here is our current price list. Note that this has come a long way from the old days due to the complexity of the audience and need we now support. And again, thank you for being here.